Hi Homeworthy, I'm Kiki. Welcome to my home in Los Angeles. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Kiki Hector. I'm an interior designer based here in Los Angeles, and welcome to my home. The background of our home and how we found it is really fun. We spent about a year looking for a house and stumbled across this, and it actually was a ground up build with a builder here in LA, which really doesn't happen that often. So we kind of jumped on the opportunity to build a home. Which was super exciting. It's our first house. We moved in October 2019, and it was really fun. We got to pick some of our finishes with a builder, but I really wanted to get my hands on it, so we didn't do too much of them. And I've spent the last, 5.5 years adding my personal touch on the house and all these little details that I'm excited to walk through with you today. But you know, when you build with a builder, it's kind of cookie cutter at times, and I think that's been really fun to put my stamp on this house. I've got like a California eclectic style. I definitely am influenced from traveling, and I love antiques, but I don't love antiques that are too fragile, so they have to be really able to be lived in. And I love oversized and comfortable colors, and pattern clashing is like my favorite thing. So I feel like as much as I can bring that into one space without feeling overwhelming, that's the goal. That's what I try to do. So eclectic. Welcome to my entrance. This is one of our really colorful spots of the house. We have a lot of different patterns going on, like I love. We did a really fun ceramic porcelain tile on the ground, which I think is really timeless. It's a really fun black and white pattern, but I love contrasting it with this Pharaoh and Ball oval room blue that we did on our stairwell. And then we've got another really fun, deeper contrast blue that we did on the entire run all the way up into the dining room. This space is, the first thing that people see. So I kind of wanted to make it be a little bit of a statement, obviously. Maybe it's a little bit more of a statement, but we changed out the recessed lights that came with the home. And this is like a really fun way for you to just add some character to a space, is just swapping your cans. And that's what we did here with these really great globe lights. They also have a little bit of like a retro vintage look, which I think is really fun, really timeless. This painting I did over here, actually, there's a lot of paintings that I did throughout the course of my life that are kind of scattered and littered everywhere in the home. My girlfriend and I, we painted this when we were in art school together. Just some fun photographs from her travels, and I love how it has an unfinished look, which kind of sometimes reflects also my interior design style. A little unfinished, not too polished. Cozy enough. But yeah, this whole section is just a collection of so many different types of finds throughout our life. I found this really great mid-century chair at an antique mall. Dan has an amazing collection of vintage books and really beautiful, spines, and I love a good spine. Another trick that I like to recommend is if you guys find a great book, the spines of the book underneath the sleeves are really beautiful. I often take those off because you get really a beautiful color, you get some gold foil, you have some more character in a book. So if you're looking to stack some books somewhere, I'd suggest taking those sleeves off because you get something really pretty. And that's kind of what we did down here. It's not the biggest entry, but it's really cozy because we're vertical living. So this is just the first floor of 4. And yeah, it's just really fun and colorful. There's a lot of different really cool pieces, but I'll just talk about a couple that I love a lot. One of my dear friends, he's an amazing production designer. On one of his many cool sets, he found a series of these old PSA cards from the 1960s. And he gave one to me, and I've just been holding on for a long time until we moved here. And the irony of be careful on stairs, I think it's really, really playful and tongue-in-cheek, but it's also really special because he's a really good friend. Another really great piece that I love is this piece that we found in London, in Notting Hill. There is this adorable tiny hole-in-the-wall gallery that we stumbled into, and I saw this piece and it was just in like a bin of collections of works, and I fell in love with it immediately. Orange is one of my favorite colors, and it's a tea time, a little abstract tea time. And I just think it's so beautiful, and I had to have it. And they shipped it back here to me, and it was only 100 euros. And it just really goes to show you about one of those things that when you find it, sometimes you just have to have it. And it was so affordable, and it's such a great memory of my first trip in London. The other thing is this little 81. This is actually a football jersey number that Dan's father wore when he was in high school, and we found it in his collection of goodies and when we were going through his dad's things. And it's just one of these kind of odd little things that are just so fun, a little unexpected. And, you know, those are those memories that kind of make your space your own when you're putting a gallery wall together. And, you know, I just love it. It's so cool. It's really fun. Let's go check out my main floor. Welcome to my dining room. This is a very special place because we host many dinner parties and have squeezed so many people in for Thanksgiving. It sometimes blows my mind that we've had like 25 people in here. We kind of take over the parts of the living room. I don't usually have my dining room staged, but I thought it'd be a really fun way to show you guys like how I would put a dinner party together. I love pattern clashing and mixing and matching really fun colors. So this is a little bit of a representation of how I would throw a dinner party. One thing I really love when setting a table is finding a few, maybe 3 or 4 colors that you think are really fun together. And I think we really did that here. We're kind of leaning into our greens and blues with a little bit of a punch of pink. We've got the napkins and the placemats that are living in the same color palette, but they're delightfully clashing, which again, I love. But we're still keeping it consistent with the greens and the pinks, and we're picking that back up with the candles, which are pink, and the candlesticks, which are green. We're still finding a harmonious color palette together. We've been picking that up even in the flowers, like little pops of pink and white and green, even in the flowers together. So my biggest tip, if you're gonna set up a dinner party, find 4 colors that you love together and just go for it. So this is probably one of my pride and joys, this painting. A super talented artist and costume designer that I met at my gallery. His name's Kalen Dawson. He is just an absurdist and a really fun guy on top of it, and just really talented. And this is so ridiculous, and I love it. It's also kind of existentially sad, which makes it even better. They never touched again, and it was sad, and it's just about a graph and a chart, and it's kind of brilliant, actually. I love that that's front and center in our dining room, and it's a constant conversation piece. And my niece, when she was younger, thought it was like the saddest thing ever, but now she's older and she thinks it's really funny. This table lamp is also something that I love so much. I found this at an antique mall when we were hunting for things for this house, because we came from a 1-bedroom to a 4-bedroom. And so we had not a lot of things. And this was one of the first things I found when we were sourcing for furniture for this house. It's from 1967. This thing is like 180 pounds. This gorgeous carved wood. And I just think it adds so much warmth and character to the space. And a little bit different. It's a little moody, but it's got some vintage character that kind of balances really fun with all these modern touches, some feminine touches. It kind of brings everything together. One other thing that I'm sure you've noticed from the entrance is we've carried that dark blue all the way up here into the dining room, even onto this pony wall, and it really acts as like a great separation for my whole main space because it is open concept. So I'm constantly looking for ways, not only in my own home, but in my projects, how to create definitions of space, and paint and color is a really great way to do that. And I think it does a really great job here in really signifying where the dining room ends, where it starts, and really making the space a lot cozier because we added this paint color. As you can see, there's a lot more of our fun art collection here, and they all have really great different stories. All these are either from a trip that I took up in Big Sur. I found this at an antique mall up there. These 2 beautiful prints were from my gallery, and a really talented artist. Fortunate to have some of hers, Julie Kim. This piece I also found in an antique mall He was a Disney Imagineer. His name is Glenn Hall. And he was one of the animators and illustrators that helped put some of the figure drawings together for the Pirates ride. And I just love nudes. They're like a weakness of mine. I love nude drawings and figure drawings. I think that's probably the art school kid in me. That was my favorite class, was my life drawing classes. So I think I kind of a sucker for some good life drawings. So I had to have this, and when I learned about his story, I thought that was even more special. But all of these are just such a fun, random collection, and I think that's what makes gallery walls really special and unique. And yours is just finding things that speak to you, how weird or cool or beautiful, doesn't matter, and just having a fun time collecting really great stuff. This chandelier that we have above our dining room table is really fun. It kind of is a remnant of a Sputnik, but it also has a little bit of a different touch with like the woven rope, and its shape is really cool. We found this at HD Buttercup. This is also one of the first things we found when we were sourcing for our home, and we were so excited. We had almost 2 years to wait before we even moved in, but we already had all these things picked out that just sat in a box in our garage for a very long time. So I almost forgot what this looked like until we moved in. We hung it. I was like, oh yes, I still love it. Thank you. Thank you for a good purchase from 2 years ago. But it's it's just a really fun way. It's got a little coastal, a little California, which is, like I said, like my style, a little bit California eclectic. But I just think it's a really fun mashup with the vintage lamp, a little bit of a modern driftwood live edge dining table, and the kind of eclectic mix of chairs that you get from like the iron to the wood to the mixed metals. I think it's like a really fun touch. Why don't we check out my kitchen? I love this space. It is an island of my dreams. It is so big, it's 10 feet long, and this has been the epicenter of so many good nights, so many baking fails. I cannot bake. No matter how hard I try, I should just probably stop. But I won't give up. I would not recommend eating any of my baked goods, but I will cook some amazing food for you. That's the trade-off. I'll have my friends bake. I will cook for you. So this island really lends itself to many fun nights of like drinking and eating and good times and board games, and just, I love it so much. I found this actually at Amber Interiors. She had a huge warehouse sale that I went and jumped on, and this is an old wine barrel lid and old tray, and I just had to have it, and it's beat up and aged and old, and it's just kind of a centerpiece of our island, and it's just one of those things that just kind of looks good no matter where you put it. We picked these white cabinets with our builder, and we got to pick our countertops and our backsplash, and we went really neutral, and here we did a quartz because we are messy and we beat up on our counters a lot. In my dream world, as I mentioned, we're in a builder home, so ways that you can customize it down the road or once you live in something is seeing how you can really make it yours. Maybe down the road, I might change to something loud and fun, but I think that it's really neutral that allows itself to really be the backdrop to a lot of our fun color and a lot of our artwork. So it's really delightfully neutral. I also love blue a lot. So we have this really great, beautiful handmade Italian ceramic backsplash that we picked with them as well, which I just love. I feel like it's really timeless, and this color palette is also really timeless. I think you can't go wrong, whether it's now or in 15 years. I think that this will really just stand the test of time, and it's not overly trendy or overly colorful, which is funny because I do love color. Another thing we did with just these Roman shades. It's just another really great way with these huge windows that can feel very overwhelming. Just a way to soften this space. I bring in flowers often. And so that's a fun way for me to bring in more color when we're trying to add some more fun to the space. These light fixtures are also something that we picked when we found our dining room chandelier. We found them at the same time. Again, 2 years before we even moved in here. We also found them at HD Buttercup. We wanted to keep the space open in this open concept, and having the glass really allows itself to feel not so heavy and nice and bright and open. Fun story though, the day we put our deposit down on this lot, we literally left the real estate office and went to Restoration Hardware, and Dan had been eyeing these stools for a very long time. And this is actually the very first thing that we bought that sat in a box for 2 years. So the fun, exciting wait of building a home, but then the wait for it for so long. Again, you hope that you love them, and then we really do. And they're just really comfortable. And again, that brass and that blue, clearly there's a theme in my home of brass and blue. And yeah, we just love them so much. Okay, now let's head to my living room. My living room. Open concept living, right? This is my main floor, my living room, the heart of the home as well. It's so great that it's connected to my kitchen and my dining room. This space is just really the place that we spend the most time in and the place that we just love so dearly. This chair, I just love a good aged leather. You can just beat it up. I always tell my clients, even if they have kids or dogs or are afraid to destroy leather, to me, more age, the better. We have spilled everything you can imagine on this chair, and we have a 100-pound dog, and it just has so much character. And I think that that's what makes leather chairs and leather goods like so special and really personal to you. All these little tchotchkes and knickknacks have been just so fun. Apparently I have a thing for hands. I also talk a lot with my hands, I'm sure you can tell. And I seem to collect little hands everywhere. There's hands here, there's hands behind you on our built-in. They're scattered. I draw hands a lot, I paint hands, I buy artwork that has hands. I just love the expression of hands and how they age, and you'll see little pops of hands everywhere throughout my space. We are very tall people, so I needed a sofa that was deep enough, but not too deep, because I have to take account everyone else in our life. So this sofa has been just a dream. It's like the perfect scale for this room. I always recommend going bigger with some pieces instead of a lot of smaller pieces. I think that a lot of smaller pieces can make a space feel a little bit more cluttered. So if you have the ability, even in smaller spaces, one big sofa with maybe 2 appropriate sized chairs, but trying to fill up this space with a good size sectional was my main goal. And I think we did a really great job. It fits the space really, really nicely. Also, great place to pull in some more character and personality is obviously you could bring in some ottomans or stools. That's a great way to bring in color or pattern. For me, I went with texture, and they're just so easy to move around, and you can have as many people sitting in here as we can. I think we can get like even 15 people for like a really fun game night. I spent 2 years looking for a rug. 2 years, and I finally landed on this rug, and it is my favorite thing. One of my most favorite things about this whole room. It just anchors the space so beautifully. It's all the colors that I love. It's a little masculine, which I tend to design a little bit more towards the masculine sides of colors or patterns, and I just think it's delightful, and it's dark, so it hides a lot, it hides life. This is one of my favorite things, this rug, this pattern. Another great way to make a space feel really cozy, especially in a build like ours, which tends to be a little bit more modern in its lines, are adding window treatments, especially taking them to the ceiling. I think that that's a really easy way to make a space feel a little bit cozier and a little bit more interesting. It just adds a little bit of a hug. That's what I think curtains do. They add a hug into a room. Patterns. I love patterns. And here you can see that I've stuck with a color palette, but I've got a bunch of different patterns and mixing of colors, but they all kind of stick to a same neutral palette that I just love. So that'd be a really great design tip that I would recommend is, again, how I mentioned with the dining table, even if your pillows, maybe stick to 2 or 3 colors and just go ham, you know? Not everything has to match. As long as you're finding a through line with color, I think that you could do a really great job just adding a lot of character to your sofa. And pillowcases are the easiest thing to change. You could just buy a cover And you can constantly change your covers to match your season, match a holiday. You see something that you really like. That's one of my biggest recommendations to clients is just swap your pillowcase covers. You could have a whole new space, just like that. This painting is a really fun story. I found this in the trash, basically. It was in the trash. Some friends of ours were moving out, and they had an old uncle who had been living with them, and he was moving into with his niece, and he was getting rid of a lot of his stuff, and he didn't want this anymore, and he was just going to get rid of it, and he had it in the trash when he was moving out. This happened to be one of his dogs, and I just fell in love with it, and I just thought it was so fun and abstract, and I was like, this can't go in the trash. I have to have this dog. And she's a San Diego artist, and she's really talented, and there's actually 2 paintings, and one of like this really fun little white dog that I gave to my good girlfriend Jessie for her birthday because it looks exactly like her dog. So I literally upcycled this art trash and now it's hanging in my house, and it's fantastic. I love it so much. Another great piece is this one that I got at a really great little local shop called the Collective Shop. I had eyed this piece online for about 5 months, and I recently went there just to check out the store, see what they had, and it happened to be there in the shop, and I was convinced that it was going to be gone. I was like, there's no way that this beautiful painting drawing is still there. There's no way. And sure enough, it was sitting there, and it was part of their warehouse sale that they just had, and I had to take it. I had to go home with it. And of course, it's a figure drawing. It's a nude. My love language. I'm a sucker for it, and it's the perfect color palette. It's the most beautiful like figure. I love it so much. I just love the sweet little expression on this guy's face, and I love how casual it is. It makes me so happy. And so it was perfectly put right there, and I had to put it up. What's really fun about the built-ins we did over here, with the builder, this was just an empty kind of inset that was just this big empty space that, was screaming for something, for character, to make it not feel so sterile. Shiplap is such a great approach, wall treatment, and we just did a really subtle shiplap treatment across this, which can be very timeless, and just really took the expanse of this wall, brought in some beautiful white oak, and made this like really cozy entertainment space. Plus, we have a lot of really great vintage books that were from Dan's grandparents. We're starting our audiophile journey, and we needed a space for a lot of our records because we're constantly listening to our records now. It's a favorite thing of ours. And so we needed a place to house everything. So a lot of good reasons why we needed this built in. Plus we have an assortment of tchotchkes. And one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that I love fish. Fish. Don't know why. I've been painting them since I was a kid. I've never owned a fish, but I just love them so much. Really chubby, weird, fun goldfish specifically. I will be very specific. They're just adorable. I love them so much. So you'll probably start to notice now that there's little fish kind of scattered around either in my artwork or in little fun tchotchkes. But they're just adorable. I don't know. Maybe I should get a fish tank. But yeah, here's some more hands. I just love my little sculptural details. Again, little weird objects I think are also what make a home really special and unique. This guy I found at an antique mall here in Sherman Oaks. He was just shoved behind a giant box, and he looks like a dog. Maybe a dragon, not sure. He probably looks like a dog who's like scratching, but he is heavy. He's like this solid block of wood that was carved. And I just love him so much. He's just fun and unique. So always looking for those things to add that extra character into your home, and especially when you have like a statement area like a built-in. Let's go check out my hall and my powder bathroom. This was a really fun idea that Dan and I both had about how do we make like a subtle impact in a very little space. But one of those things we decided to do was wallpaper. And I love this wallpaper. I probably obsessed over about 40 different wallpapers for months and months. And I kept coming back to this Schumacher wallpaper. And I just knew I had to do it. It was playful and a fun pattern, but it really was so harmonious with everything else that we had in the house, with like the colors we've already invested in. And I just love that it is to this peekaboo window of this really great greenery that we have out there. It matched this really fun tulip pot that we have and our ZZ plant. And it just felt very fun and playful, but a little sophisticated. And it's just delightful. I could touch it all the time. It's screen printed and has such nice texture. And it just adds such a fun punch of color here without being too much. And I obviously have to talk about this art because it's ridiculous. And I think that's what I love about it. It's that same artist that's in my dining room, Kaylin Dawson. And he, it just, every time I look at it, it just makes me laugh because it's a Camel cigarette, but not. It is his take on a Camel cigarette. And then he's like written nature here, and it's just like so tongue-in-cheek and totally absurd. And it's just on this beautiful raw canvas, and it's just funny, and it just makes me really happy. And I think it's really fun that it's this elegant wallpaper and then this ridiculous piece of art that they kind of clash together. And I think that that's what makes it really fun. And then if you want to check out into my powder bathroom, this is one of my most favorite little bathrooms. She's small but mighty. And this is actually a painting I did when I was in my 20s, right when I had started my gallery. It's huge. I found this canvas at Goodwill for $15. And it was basically this abstract, weird artwork that I couldn't find any information on. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna honor this. I kept some of the original painting that was on there to whatever artist this was, so that a lot of this of black and white was that painting that I painted over. And then I painted this self-portrait of me dancing in some fire. It was a very hectic time being in your 20s trying to figure out life, and this is what came out of what I was doing then. We added this really fun brass candelabra, which at night when we light our candles just adds this beautiful warm glow to the room without having to have the pendant light on. And like I said, I'm a sucker for candles, so this is like another fun way for us to bring in that effect, especially when you're having a dinner party. It's such a fun little ambient light that really glows this little pink bathroom. This color pink, by the way, is from one of my favorite companies called Backdrop. This is called Harajuku Love, and I think that name is just even more fun. I love this kind of modern frosted orb pendant that clashes playfully against this very like ornate vintage mirror that we found. It's just this really fun take on different styles, which I just really love doing. I love mashing things together. And then you've got this loud painting and then this pink room. I just think it's like a really fun, I almost wanted to say collaboration of things, but maybe that's what it is. It's a fun collaboration of things together. So I said, like, I love fish, and you can see right here, the hardware that we have on my cabinet are these women riding a fish. And fun story about this, my dad had this beautiful dresser when I was a kid growing up, and this was the hardware on his dresser. And when they moved and got a bigger dresser, he gave me this dresser when I moved into my first apartment in my 20s. And when I got rid of that dresser, I took all the hardware off and I saved them. And I've been waiting to use them for the right thing. And when we moved in here, I put these on here. So they're really special to me. And if we ever sell this house, I'm gonna have to take these off and hide them so that I don't have to sell them with the house. But more little touches of fish everywhere, which I really love. How I got started as an interior designer is kind of a fun story. Since I was a child, I was moving my bedroom around, or I would move my mom's living room around. And luckily, she just kind of threw her hands up and was like, okay, I'm just gonna let this happen. And One of my favorite memories, I was in high school and we had a trellis, like a potted trellis, that I thought would be cool to be a room divider in our living room. And she came home one day and I just had put this plant wall in our living room, and she walked in. I'll never forget her reaction. She was just like, oh, right, okay. So I have basically my entire life been futzing and playing and moving and painting my own bedrooms, and maybe not finishing it, but that's pretty much my entire life. I've been futzing inside of a house in some capacity. I originally went to school for fine art and to play volleyball, but I also wanted to do interior design. So I actually kind of ended up doing all three and went to FITM downtown LA for interior design. I went to school for fine art. I ended up working for a really amazing interior designer here in LA, and that really got my start. And then I stumbled into set design, and during this time I also was painting and stumbled into opening an art gallery just by showing some works with some friends in Koreatown, and then that led me into opening an art gallery that I had for almost a decade, and was always doing interiors on the side for friends or family or myself, constantly finding stuff, finding art, hanging art, painting rooms, still the same little me, still doing it as an adult. And right before the pandemic, I closed the gallery down. It had seen its run. I had a great, amazing time, and it was so special, but it was just time to try something new, and I went back to interiors, and that was in 2020, and it's been an amazing experience and ride, and just have had the best clients, and it's just been very serendipitous how everything's been falling into place, and everything has just continued to have amazing momentum, and it's just been really fun that people have been so excited about what we're doing and what I'm doing. I think my biggest tip that I have for people is if you have such a pull or you are so drawn to something, just try it. You can always change something, you can always move something. It doesn't hurt to be playful or explore, especially when it comes to antiquing, or you're out in the world or you're even in a Goodwill and you see something that you're just like, oh, should I? I always say, if you can afford it, just get it. Because I will tell you, there are many regrets that I have, that the things I did not get that kind of still haunt me today. But that's my biggest thing, is don't be afraid to try. And if your heart really wants something, just go for it, because it's gonna authentically feel like you once you put it inside of your house. Let's go upstairs and check out my guest bedroom. Welcome to our guest bedroom. I love this room. This room is so cozy. I feel like I could move into this bedroom and be very happy. Sorry, Dan. A neighbor friend asked me the other day, he was like, what do you describe this room as? What's like the style of this room? And I was like, that's a great question. Well, if I was to describe this room, I would say it's inspired by like a upstate New York boutique hotel, but with like a California twist, is what I would say this room is, or what I hope to convey this room to be. It's funky, it's playful. We got more of our pattern clashing. It's fun to bring in a little bit of this like traditional plaid, which is, very timeless. We've got this beautiful antique wool Persian rug. Some of my favorite things I have ever found. I was sourcing for another client and came across these from Sunbeam Vintage over in Highland Park. And I immediately left my office to go buy them because, one, it's really hard to find vintage pairs that are in good condition, but I have been looking for brass vintage table lamps, I don't know, for like 3 years for this room, that I was there in 20 minutes. I'm not kidding. I sprinted out and got them, and they were there, and I was so happy. So these are probably one of my favorite things in this bedroom. Fun fact, I painted this painting inspired by a bunch of different things that I'd seen, and I wanted that pop of red in here that felt very unexpected, and I love that whole red color theory, the unexpected red color theory, and I felt like that was a perfect place to kind of drop that in. And I feel like this painting and the scale of it is so fun for this little bedroom and kind of brings in some of that like California funk that I love and a little bit of that eclectic mix. But I love this room. I love it so much. It's so cozy. And we have people stay here all the time. So I want to make sure that people are really, really comfortable in here and happy. So this portrait and this chair are actually a really fun memory for me. When I was working with the interior designer here, when I first started working out in LA, she had the most incredible eye, and she really taught me about the beautiful kind of mashup of antiques and new and modern and old, and really just taught me so much that I cherish to this day. And we're on a project, and she actually gave me this chair, and it is from the 1920s, this old leather kind of hacienda style chair, and it is so precious to me. And it lives in here because it's not the most solid piece of furniture, and no one will sit in this thing because it's the guest bedroom. And if it was in my main space, it might be broken by now. And in that same time, she also gave me this beautiful painting because she knew I was starting to collect things and find things. And we had used this piece of work in a few of our staging projects, and I had just fallen in love with this moody, weird guy. I'm like, what's this person's story? Who is this guy? And she also gifted this to me. So I was very blessed and very fortunate. And I just love this like lavender infusion into this space with this kind of really putty green that's in this room. It's just such a soft color, even though it's a little bit darker and a little bit more heavy, but it doesn't feel overpowering, which I really love. So bringing in some gold pops with this little funky guy, I think maybe it's a little weird, maybe it's a little creepy. Maybe he's watching over you, but he's protecting you in my guest bedroom. I don't know. But I love him. He's so fun. Maybe he's like your party guy with his little top hat, but I think he adds like a really fun flair to this bedroom. Welcome to my second stairwell hallway. This is probably the showcase of the house because it's 2 stories and it is housing most of our artwork, as if there isn't enough through the rest of my house. But this piece I wanted to point out particularly because this was special to me and to Dan. When we moved in, I wanted to give him something really special. Both of his parents have unfortunately passed away, and they couldn't be a part of this experience with us. And I was looking at something to honor him, or his family and his past and his memories. And this is actually a picture of the house that they grew up in Hawaii. And I took a photograph and gave it to this amazing, amazing artist. And she does these beautiful, beautiful landscapes. And I sent her this, and I surprised Dan when we moved in a week later with all of his siblings and our nieces and nephews here, and surprised him with this because, you know, we need more art in this house. And fun fact is that here is the van. This van was in their driveway, and this is his dad driving their old VW bus with all of them in the car. And they just had the best memories here. And so I think it's just like, it's so special. And it was just such a great gift. And she just did such an incredible job. And yeah, it's just very meaningful to all of us. Not many places could you move and they would be able to hold space for another painting of mine, which is a 8 feet high by 6 foot wide painting I did at the same time as the one that I showed you in my bathroom. But this was a really funky time when I was bartending, and the bar I was working at, there was a lot of crazy people that would work there or come visit there. So this was very reflective of a time in my life, but it's huge and it just is like so fun, and it's loud and cool, and it helps fill this wall because I don't even know what else I would put there. Otherwise I'd be in storage, to be honest. But yeah, welcome to a lot of really cool art that I really, really love. There's so many pieces on this wall. I could probably spend like a day talking to you about all this stuff, but I'll try to be intentional about a few pieces that really stand out to me. I don't even know where to begin. I think I'll start here. This piece I did when I was 14, and fish. Again, I don't know why fish. I should probably look into that, but more fish. That's when I was really starting to like learn my like really funky, weird, very surrealist style is what I would call my painting style. So it kind of makes sense that my home is a little bit like that too. These are some collections of things that we got at the gallery. When I had the gallery, we bought stuff from artists as well. Like the whole gallery was about supporting emerging LA-based artists right in the beginning of their career. So there's a lot of really meaningful pieces for us here because we were in the beginning of when they really first were starting to put themselves out there. So this is one of them. Her name is Allison Bamcat. She is so fun and so talented. And she just has this amazing surrealist kind of like pop art style. So fun, so fun. Couldn't recommend following her more. The cool thing about that is then I smash in like a found sign that used to be in a laundromat here in the Valley in the 70s that I found at another antique mall. And I was like, why not? Why not? Soft water. Use less soap. I mean, it makes total sense. This piece is one of the first paintings I ever made. My dad had framed. I was 4 years old, or 4 or 5. I wrote my name in the corner there, which is really fun. It's such kid writing, which is just so sweet. But obviously that's a really special piece. Kind of kicked off my life here. This is another really cool piece. My dad worked in the advertising industry for a really long time. And if you remember the original like Looney Tunes, Chuck Jones, this is one of his original prints that he gave my dad and had him sign it to my sister and I in 1988. So I think it's just so fun. It's just this random collection of things that are meaningful and ridiculous and fun and found. And I mean, this wall is continuing to grow and grow. Our 3 dogs, who were all senior guys and have passed on now, we have a portrait of the 3 of them up there, but I mean, you can kind of spend time looking at this. We have all this sunlight, these skylights, and it's just like an incredible display of like our own personal gallery up here. What are some great tips for doing a gallery wall in your home? You know, there's a few different things. I think initially you could start by looking at what you have. Either it be you want to do family photos, or maybe there's something from a family member that you were gifted or handed down, or things you've been purchasing. I would start, some people it really helps to lay out everything you have and really look at it to kind of get an idea. You can put it on the floor and kind of shuffle things around to see how they work together. I think one of the biggest things that I would recommend is not having frames that are the same. Trying to find mixed materials, so like have a canvas next to like a random, I've just got this sign with a frame. Having a lot of variety in what you're putting next to each other, I think is one of the good key rules of having a really cool gallery wall. I think a good way to start hanging is maybe start with your biggest piece, knowing, and then the wall you want to go on. I would recommend never putting that big piece center. I like things slightly off center, and that allows you to kind of build around that. So I would probably start with your biggest piece, pick your wall, start off center, and start building from there. And then maybe find your second biggest piece and put that on the opposite side of where you've put your biggest piece. And then you start to create balance. And a rule of thumb is I'm 5'10", and so I try to keep things at the eye level of someone who's around 5'8" to 5. Between me, 5'10" and 5'8" is like the eye level of when you're trying to hang things on a wall. I think the biggest mistake that people make is they hang things too high. They think like higher the better, and that is, don't do that. That's wrong. If I was to say there was anything wrong about it, any advice I'm giving is do not hang your art too high. You can obviously start to go up and go higher when you start to like layer, but if you're just keeping things in a row or on a singular wall, or you've just kind of got a horizontal line, I would keep that in mind. Let's go check out my roof, aka my backyard. This is both of our favorite places to be. This is our backyard rooftop, and this has been a sanctuary for us since we moved in here. You know, being in a small lot development, which is, you know, becoming really big in a lot of major cities where there's not a lot of room to build. They do these really great small lots, and this is the product of a yard and a small lot. And I took advantage of how bright it is, and I feel like this became the most colorful, cheery part of our home. And so I felt like I wanted to make this almost like a Palm Springs a little bit inspired space. We also do landscape design at Kiki Design Studio, so I feel like this is a fun way for me to do landscape design on a rooftop up here. My landscape is in pots. Like I said, this is such a sanctuary for us. One of the cool things we did with the builder that we really fought to do was this fireplace, this built-in fireplace. And this is the focal point of our roof and just our favorite thing. We come out here, we turn the fire on, we turn on a movie, and we are just in heaven. We just spend hours and hours up here, especially during the summer. Now it's getting really hot. You know, we'll barbecue. We have the best view for 4th of July, by the way. There are fireworks everywhere up here, and it is just like the biggest 180 view of LA. This place is just such a fun retreat. It's cozy, it's inviting, it's still playful, carrying on my pattern clashing stripes and checkers and different greens with the classic black and white little chevron pattern. It's just such a great, inviting, welcoming space. And I come up here all the time. If you can't find me, I'm probably up here. Maybe with an Aperol spritz, maybe enjoying a beautiful sunset. But this is just the best place to be. Home is definitely a space that I feel like you can kick off your shoes. It's not a space that is too precious, and it can kind of catch you in your days. And I feel like it doesn't ever have to be perfect, and it can be a little messy, and it can just kind of be and move with you and where you're at in your life. And it's kind of an evolving space, but I feel like as long as it feels like you and it's cozy, I feel like that's kind of what home is to me. See you later, Homeworthy. I gotta go hang some art. Catch you later. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.